quote, "Nothing so epitomizes President Obama's contempt for American values and traditions as ramming two bills, the stimulus package and the health care bill this would be, through Congress in his first year, each bill more than 1,000 pages long, too fast for either to be read, much less discussed," close quote. Stimulus package, the health care bill, actually, I looked this up, came to more than 2,000 pages.
Yes.
On the other hand, the American people elected Barack Obama. They gave him big Democratic majorities in both the House and the Senate. Why shouldn't Barack Obama and his Democratic allies enact whatever they want as they want?
Oh, whatever they want is one thing. As they want is something else. As they want means circumventing the whole political system of the country that's meant to safeguard, a self-governing country. If you never learn what kind of laws are being passed, then you lost a great deal of your ability to influence what happens to the people who rule. I mean, the thing that this whole business with rushing these bills through, it reminds me, the only thing I can find in parallel in history is the Norman conquerors who would publish their laws in England in French for an English-speaking nation.
Dismantling America once again. What are the Beltway politicians buying with all the hundreds of billions of dollars they are spending? They are buying what politicians are most interested in, power. Explain that notion.
There are things that the government is authorized to do under the Constitution and other things that they're not authorized to do. But by simply spending a vast amount of money, you acquire the right to do them. For example, you can fire the head of General Motors simply because you spent all that money rescuing General Motors. There are all kinds of programs that the federal government imposes on the states, which they have no authority to do, but they impose them because they make the receipt of federal money contingent on doing what they tell you in Washington. And so the powers that were set out in the Constitution and limited become expanded by this process.
Now, I mentioned that we've had some questions for you submitted from people who follow the show on Twitter and Facebook. Here's one from a fellow called Albert Fuchs on Facebook. And he points, I'll paraphrase because it's a little bit long here. Milton Friedman said a major reason for the growth of government is that special interests are concentrated, but the general interest is diffuse. And Tocqueville warned that American democracy would be in danger when the public learned it could use the ballot box to vote itself money.
Yes.
Now, both of these get at what you were talking about just a moment ago. But both of these are structural points. It has been the case since the Constitution was enacted that special interests are concentrated and the general interest is diffuse, or that politicians could in effect purchase votes.
Yes.
Why do we have the problem now? What has happened in recent
very good
decades?
question. Because one of the constraints are the values of the public, and when the values of the public are constantly eroded in the schools and in the press, elsewhere, then these other tendencies can have a wider field to play.
Mm-hmm. So what's a good index for the values of the public? Would you say, for example, that it might be federal spending or federal debt, where for 2 centuries you get a fairly flat, slowly climbing line, goes up during the Civil War, comes back down, and then beginning about in the 70s, it just takes off.
Yes.
So it's not FDR, it's not the Great Deal, it's not the 30s, it's the 70s? Is that when do things begin to go catastrophically wrong?
I would say it was the Great Depression. Most people are unaware that prior to the 1930s, the federal government never intervened in the economy to get us out of a recession. The economy recovered on its own and kept going. But FDR really broke down a great deal of that sense of independence. I mean, there was a time, I think most Americans would have felt insulted to have it thought that they wanted somebody else to pay their medical bills. They don't feel so insulted anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. This is what I'm trying to get at. This on the one hand, you've got an elite that is effectively engaging in a slow motion hijacking of America. That's a crude way, but one way of putting it. But at the other hand, you've got more and more Americans who either like the idea of being hijacked, are too worn out to fight it anymore. I'm trying to get your sense of the extent to which the public itself is dispirited.
Well, the ideas of the 60s, the idea that if you had a grievance, you didn't have to obey the law.